type of sustainable life or women to, create some type of wealth. Until really wartime, women weren't allowed in the workforce.
There is a belief that women didn't work outside of the home in the United States until the 1940s. As you saw in that clip, a Gen Z woman is making this claim while on a dating podcast. But here's the thing. I'm approaching 50 and I thought like she did not that long ago. It wasn't until I started researching my female ancestors that my perspective shifted. It also helped that I learned a genealogical truism. Historical claims depend on time and location. The problem with bringing assumptions into genealogy is this. When we believe the big lie that women didn't work outside of the home in the United States until World War II, we may skip entire categories of genealogical records because it wouldn't apply to my female ancestor. If we find a woman defying the norm, we might assume she's an exception to the norm instead of questioning if our beliefs are flawed from the start. In this video, I will show you how the big lie about women and the labor force nearly kept me from discovering an amazing story about one of my ancestors, and how challenging assumptions can transform your research. Howdy everyone, welcome back to Family History Fanatics. I'm Devin Noel Lee, and I like to help you make meaningful connections as you climb your proverbial family tree. Or your bush. If you want actionable tips on how to do genealogical research and have fun along the way, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss a thing. As pointed out earlier, many people believe women didn't work outside the home in the United States until World War II, and Rosie the Riveter became household names. You'll find this claim in articles, books, and even political debates. And yet, some will counter the argument that women have worked outside of the home for quite a long time. But history is complicated and we can't paint with broad strokes, or we might paint over our ancestors and their stories. If you hang around the Family History Fanatics channel long enough, you will hear Andy or I say the refrain regarding genealogy research quite often. It depends. Could your ancestor have married in a Lutheran church when they're Catholic? It depends. Was your great-uncle required to share the proceeds of an estate sale for his father with the children of his deceased sister? It depends. Could women inherit property separate from their husbands? It depends. I'm scratching the surface of it depends statements, and you can share your it depends statements you've encountered in the comments section so I can tap into them in future videos. But for now, know this. Before believing that your ancestor couldn't work outside of the home, it's worth researching the laws of your ancestor's time and place. According to the World Economic Forum, 104 countries limit what jobs women can hold today. But in a different location or a different time in history, that may or may not have been true for where your ancestor lived. So while this video shares a US-based story, you have to understand the legal restrictions for your ancestors wherever they are from. Now, in the US, you will likely find legal restrictions for women and work in the same sources you found laws regarding inheritance. So search for statutes for the state or location of your ancestor lived and find the years that govern the time in which they lived there. But what about cultural norms? Cultural norms aren't always codified in law. Therefore, it can be harder to research. However, genealogical records can be a gold mine if you know where to look. So always look for your females in various records as you do search for men. You might be surprised what you find. Let's travel back to the late 1800s. While researching my multiple great-aunt, Elmira Young, I expected to find a widowed mother scrapping by after her husband, Jerome Howard, died as a Civil War prisoner of war. I could have searched for Civil War pension records, but before I spent money on a great-great-great-uncle's case file, I searched my second favorite genealogical collection, newspapers. What I didn't expect was this. In the Lawrenceburg Press, published on August 1st, 1878, The practice of Dr. Elmira Y. Howard, 459 West 6th Street, is one of the most extensive and successful in Cincinnati. Wait, what? Dr. Elmira Howard? Doctor means that Elmira had a medical career, so she went somewhere to obtain advanced training, and that training had to have happened before 1878. Her practice? The practice of means she owns it, her practice. She's a businesswoman, and she's not a man. One of the most extensive and successful? That doesn't happen overnight. So how long has she developed the most extensive and successful practice at a time when supposedly women didn't work outside of the home or even get a medical degree? If you, like me, when considering a female doctor in the 1880s, start conjuring up the images of Dr. Quinn, medicine woman in a small frontier town, think again. Cincinnati in the 1870s was booming. By the 1880s, its population was around 255,000. Of course, I compare things to Houston because that's where I'm from. It was larger than Houston by quite a big factor. 9,000 to 255,000. Somebody do the math for me. It's bigger than the entire state of Colorado, Oregon, Utah. I mean, practically in the entire West. Now, Cincinnati wasn't some backwater town. It was the 8th largest city in the United States. And Elmira wasn't just surviving as a widow. She had one of the city's most successful medical practice. My mind is completely blown away. If yours is too, let me know. As I consider that my great aunt not only worked outside of the home, but was doing it successfully in a large town, I wondered if she was an anomaly. So how can I find out that answer? The same article that mentions her practice is part of a broader piece about women's roles. When I scroll to the top of this article that names Elmira, I know I'm in for an easy answer to my question to understand women in history. The article title is What Women Are Doing and What Those Who Read the Press Was to Say About Women. And unlike a society news section where we see the comings and goings of women, we see something very different in this article. First, there's a Mrs. Jenny Cummings Crawley, and she has been elected a member of the New York Academy of Science. A Wikipedia article about Jenny highlights the challenges she faced as a female journalist, but ignores that she was elected a member of the New York Academy of Science. Seems like that needs to be updated just a bit. Regardless, she's working outside of the home, is she not? Not only as a journalist, but also as a scientific professional member of a society. I'd really like to learn more about Mrs. Jenny, but for the purpose of this video, I need to move on and not go on a tangent. There is an entry where Vassar College female students sacrificed their health for fashion, but this line makes me wonder, what female college students, what are they learning? And where is this Vassar College? I want to know about it. Because remember, women couldn't get educated before the 1940s. It is what people believe to this day and what I believed not that long ago. We can see the seedbed of taking your daughter to work day from an advocate over in England. Hey, UK folks. We see an entry for college graduates from Swarthmore College. But I thought women didn't get advanced degrees until the mid-1900s. Well, what are they studying? Then I saw this. Mrs. Maxwell, appointed state librarian by the governor of Iowa. She was formerly the egressing clerk of the Senate and wrote a history of Guthrie County. Mrs. C.A. Spear was appointed the adjunct professor of physiology at the Philadelphia University of Medicine and Surgery. There's a lovely quote about her appointment from a trustee about her joining the faculty. This statement suggests that women were not only being educated, but now they were becoming professors. And she had the title of Mrs. So, was she indeed married at the time? If so, now we're hitting on married women couldn't work outside of the home until the 1940s. Do I need to continue? Now, mind you, I recognize this is an article printed in the Lawrenceburg Press about women all across the country. Can we figure out what's happening in Cincinnati? Well, we'll come back to that in a moment. I found another article that is interesting. It's from the Portsmouth Times in Portsmouth, Ohio. If I'm reading this correctly, this is a list of homeopathic physicians. Notice that although they're blurry, you can see some of the names are Dr. Mary Stafford, Dr. Caroline Hastings. There's a Mrs. George Newton and a Mrs. Chaw. I think that's for Charles Morse. I wish this article was more clear in the organization and the fonts and help you understand what I'm seeing, but it looks like there's a list of female doctors here. And below that section, there's an extract from Dr. Elmira Howard saying that the diploma from Boston University School of Medicine offers sufficient guarantee that either she or the doctors listed above her name are equal to the task of being a physician. If you can figure this out, let me know. But the fact of the matter is there's 2 more names of female doctors and possibly 2 more females who are doctors but went by their husband's name. Not only that, I never thought Boston University was some kind of backwater school. It sounded pretty prestigious. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section. But continuing the case focused on Elmira, there are numerous papers with advertisements of her practice when she moved into a different location in Cincinnati and then when she moved to Palmyra, Missouri. She has quite a big practice. Elmira wasn't the only female doctor. An 1888 article from the, I think you say the Pequot Daily Call, lists her among other lady physicians earning impressive incomes. This article leads off with, to go to the other extreme, the lady physicians have in certain cases earned the largest amount of money of any class of women. Dr. Elmira Y. Howard is credited with a professional income of at least $7,000 a year. If the inflation calculator is to believe, that's a purchasing power of $225,000 today. My mind is blown. There are other female doctors listed with some indication of their income. Now, if we expand our view of this clipping out to the rest of the article on the page, we can see that this section is part of an article discussing the difference between skill and earning. It estimates that over 23,000 women were earning their own living, nearly 10% of the population of Cincinnati. Mind you, that population is made up of men, women, and children, so what percentage of women are laboring at this time? That would require more than a cursory investigation, which I don't have time for right now, but are you beginning to see the challenge to the notion? But did women work outside of the home before World War II? In Cincinnati, I think the answer is yes. They might have. They might have been saleswomen, bookbinders, typists, domestic servants, waitresses, theater workers, school teachers, janitors. Gosh, that sounds an awful like today. Now, this is an observation of the article writer, and it shows that a wide range of labor options that were available to women. When I see this list of options, I see that jobs held depend on the skill of the female. That opens an entirely different topic regarding how they were able to or prevented from obtaining the skills for the higher paying job. There are more hows and whys that I can't answer, but what I can say is this: don't fall for the big lie. We can't make sweeping claims like women didn't work outside of the home until the 1940s because it can derail your research. Such claims blind you to valuable records and leaves you to write incomplete or inaccurate stories. So what can we do? Don't assume your female ancestor didn't work. Always go and research either the legal restrictions or investigate cultural norms at the time. Don't skip records because of your preconceived notions, and always let the evidence tell the story, especially when it comes to challenging modern beliefs. Now it's your turn. What surprising occupations have you discovered in your family tree? Drop a comment below because I'd love to hear your stories. Also, if you've had to rethink assumptions about the past while researching your family tree, let's talk about it. What other misconceptions do genealogies need to rethink before they dive into the records? It's time for another recap of viewer comments. I absolutely love hearing from you all, and I do my best to comment on all of the research-related comments that are left. So with that said, in the video, when are you no longer a beginning genealogist? As long as we continue to strive to learn from our errors, improve our knowledge, and practice the steps we know to make, we will continue to move from being a good genealogist to a better genealogist. And I really like that. Instead of beginner, intermediate, and so forth, how about learning, just starting out, to good, to better, to best? That would be a trajectory I can get on board with. Suzanne McClendon is a Family History Fanatics channel member, and she said, I'm glad that I had the opportunity to take a few minutes to watch this video, the one about how do you know if you're an intermediate genealogist or not. I can definitely relate to lacking confidence. Mistakes are great teachers. I learned an important lesson from a pretty big mistake. Never let your own genealogical or genetic experiences cloud your eyes when trying to help others uncover their biological families. Follow the records, follow the DNA, and never cast your assumptions in stone. It might get thrown right back at you. Another thing I've learned along the way, thanks to Family History Fanatics and a few other YouTube genealogists, Ancestry doesn't have all the answers. No, it doesn't. Sometimes you have to go offline to find the answers. Never discount genealogical societies or county archives. Many are quite willing to help. Thanks to a county archive, I now have the entire probate packet for my third great-grandmother, including her will. Keep the comments coming on all of the videos. You guys are the best. If you've enjoyed this video, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video. Thanks for watching, and remember, if family history isn't fun, you're doing it wrong. See you next time.